Have you heard about the earthquake that is going to hit Utah in the next couple of years? I did a report asking Mr. Vanier, one of our teachers at Olympus High School, about it.
My name is Philip Vanier, or Mr. V. I am a teacher here at Olympus High. I teach AP Environmental Science, Biology, and Concurrent Enrollment Geology. What I know about it are a few things. So we're on the Wasatch Fault Line that runs basically from southern Idaho all the way down to southern Utah. It's the fault line because it's like the mountains, the Wasatch Front. There are 10 segments of it, 5 of which are active. The furthest north is up at Brigham City. The one segment of the fault, each segment of the fault can go off every couple 100 years. It's anywhere between 900 to 1200 years. The most recent one was down in Provo. The one that's the oldest is the one up in Brigham, and then Salt Lake is the second oldest. And so based on all of that and looking at rock records, there's been calculations that we have around a 57% chance of having a significant earthquake, significant being a 7.0 or larger, on the Wasatch Fault within the next 50 years. In 2020, the earthquake that originated under the lake, we found out that the Wasatch actually extends even further under the lake than we thought. And so now there's also some thought that the earthquake could be even more damaging than we originally expected, just because of how many other fault lines we haven't discovered yet that are underneath the lake. I mean, the stress and the tension build up in the rock, and it's whenever it gives out. It's like you and your buddy holding two ends of a rope, and you're both leaning back on the rope, and you're just waiting for the first one to let go, right? It depends on how much the plates are dropping, how much they're moving. With tectonic boundaries, like on the West Coast, it just has to do with the rate of movement. It has to do with the type of rock there is, like how is it breaking, how much tension in the rock or strain can it endure. So that's why there's a ballpark of anywhere between 100 to 300 years for an earthquake interval. But we do know from the rock records here, from the geologic record out here, that the segments have a major earthquake every 900 to about 1200 or 1300 years.
To the extent of your knowledge, what should we expect in this earthquake?
We've been way better. We were kind of oblivious to the risks up until the early 2000s, and then there's been a lot of engineering and retrofitting. At one point it was projected around 6,500 people would die, 90,000 people would be injured. We would lose half the hospital beds in the state. You'd expect a lot of shaking if you're in a house that has unreinforced masonry, so like a brick house that's pretty old. You might want to look into different things you can add to that house so that it doesn't collapse. Those are the buildings that typically collapse in these earthquakes. There probably will be massive landslides, specifically on the East Bench, especially if there's been fires, and then liquefaction down in the valley. So like the airport area, the northwest quadrant of the city, a lot of liquid would probably seep into the soils there and liquefy the ground a bit, turning it kind of like into a quicksand, and so there'd be a lot of structural damage. And then the other big one is actually, they think that the ground will drop a little bit because it's a normal fault, and so the drop in elevation will flood certain parts of the city if the lake has water in it, at least. Because then the water will flow out of the lake that way. So it would be significant. We would be in international news. I wouldn't be surprised if we would have the military here helping out, things like that. But we are, up until 20 years ago, we were way better prepared. That's why a lot of schools are being rebuilt. At one point, a ton of schools were projected to even collapse in a 6.5, which is way lower than a 7. And so they've been renovating schools, hospitals, all of it. The larger issue is that the fault line runs through the most populated areas of Utah, right? And it's on the East Bench, and it's also the oldest neighborhoods. Think of the avenues, or up by the U, where the hospital is, or even up here. It's much older, established neighborhoods, so older houses. So people should just get their houses checked out and have a backup plan. Be able to turn your gas line off. That's usually the big thing that happens. Ruptured gas lines cause fires. And then have emergency water and food, which just be prepared. And Again, it's like about a 57% chance in the next 50 years on one of the segments, one of the 5 segments. So depending where it is, it might do more damage than others. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. This earthquake has been long overdue. Make sure you are always ready for it, as it could hit at any time.